guys, this Georgia-Florida game, I mean, say what you want about Billy Napier. I think he had the guys ready to play in this one about as much as you could. And then DJ Lagway goes down with that hamstring injury. You don't have Graham Mertz. So basically, you got one of the kids from Holes in there playing quarterback against Georgia's defense, which it's, Aiden Warner, 7-22, 66 yards and a pick. I can't be it's hard for me to sit here and be like, oh, he sucks. Like that's a really tough situation. But this discussion to me is only about Florida with Billy Napier. The discussion about Georgia is much larger. Yes, you're 7-1. Yes, you're 5-1. I know this is a rivalry game. I know it's typically always tight, but I'm watching Carson Beck make, and it's not the throws, it's the decisions. Sometimes you got picks where it tips off a guy's finger or it gets deflected at the line or receiver runs the wrong route. That stuff happens. But the decision-making of Carson Beck, and he should have thrown 4. There should have been a 4th one that didn't get picked, went right through the hands of the Florida guy. But especially over the middle of the field in the intermediate game, he still finished for 309, 2 touchdowns, but 3 more interceptions. I'm just looking at this Georgia team, man, and it's if I can't trust Carson Beck, then you guys are screwed when it comes to winning a national championship, because that was supposed to be the beacon replacement to bring everybody else along after you lost Brock Bowers and Ladd McConkey. The defense is still good, not the best defense they've had. And I mean, Florida Jacoby ran for 74 yards on 12 carries. They didn't even have Montrell out there. I don't know. This Georgia team just looks like a good football team right now, but why is their quarterback, David, making these mistakes as an older guy?
How wild is this, man? This Florida team that we just thought, Billy Napier was going to get fired possibly weeks ago, is up on Georgia in the second half with their 3rd string quarterback in the football game. And then lo and behold, when it's all said and done, you still lost 34-20, right? You still lost by 2 touchdowns as poorly as Carson Beck played, even with the 3 interceptions. Yeah, I know that some Georgia fans are split on Mike Bobo. There's some that just really don't like him and they don't like his play calling. And that's gone back way before Todd Monken was the OC and Kirby Smart was the head coach. But you can't blame Mike Bobo for some of these throws. I understand that Brock Bowers isn't there. I know Ladd McConkey's not on the outside. That's no excuse for some of the throws that I'm seeing Carson Beck make. And look, I thought he was going to be a top 3 pick, and he was my preseason pick to win the Heisman Trophy. So I'm surprised as anyone. Now, when it looks good, boys, it looks really good. I mean, if you put his fastball, when he bangs a dig route, you can put that up against anyone in the country, and I'll take him. But the problem is, we've seen what's the interception count right now? Something like 11 picks and 11 picks in the last 3 or 4 games. Like, that's unacceptable. And yet still Georgia is 7-1. Now, I don't think that their defense is really good. I don't know if their defense is good enough to win the national championship if this is the Carson Beck that you're going to get every single week. But again, he's the type of guy where he can figure it out. He can figure it out for a full game. It's just, when is it going to happen? He can play a full game like he did the second half of that Alabama game. And if he does that combined with Georgia's defense, then yeah, they're going to still have a shot.
Blaine, I want to throw a couple scenarios at you for Georgia. I want the Georgia fans to really, really listen to me here and vibe me here, because there's a couple things going on. I don't think you can take away his stinger, right, by saying, you know what, we're just going to leave it on the run game and the defense. To David's point, I don't think the defense is elite enough for you to be able to do that. And I think Carson's, with the offense he has around him, he has to take some chances. He has to not be afraid to push the ball down the field. So you don't want to – we talk about taking a defensive guy's stinger away because of targeting. You don't want to do it to a quarterback either. But if you're a Georgia fan, you are looking toward the top, right? You are looking at Oregon. You are looking at Ohio State. You are looking at Miami. You are looking at the cream of the crop in college football, Tennessee, all these other places. And that's what you're going to measure yourself from. And that's an earned right, and you should. But going forward, if you're Georgia, why on earth, and I get it in this game against Florida, right? Circumstance dictate outcomes. The quarterback goes down. He's the backup quarterback. The 3rd string's in there. You don't want to start doing crazy stuff on offense, right? You want to let them bury themselves a little bit. But why have they stopped going up tempo? Why? You did it in the second half of the Bama game. And you know what going up tempo does? It takes a lot of the thinking out of it. Why do you think some quarterbacks are better in a 2-minute drill than they are in the other 58 minutes that goes on? Because you take a lot of the thinking out of it. I don't know if Carson's overthinking it, but if I'm Georgia, right, and we got Ole Miss and we got Tennessee, both of which will go up tempo, why do you not go back to the up tempo and say, listen, Carson, we're going to take some of the thinking out of it. We're going to put the defense on their heels. And maybe by going that fast, you can be a little bit more simplistic offensively because you're catching the defense and base a lot more, hence why you go fast.
Yeah, Georgia got extremely lucky in this football game that DJ Lagway went out early. I know he was 2 for 6, but he looked good. Right now, if you're Georgia, you're not feeling comfortable about a lot of things. Huge wins against Texas the week before, but you did not look good in this football game, in my opinion. Florida had every opportunity to go and win this game. They were just banged up. You basically played against every third stringer out there. I don't feel bad for Billy Napier. I don't know why you would. You've had plenty of opportunities to win big games, and you have not done that. So, is anybody to blame? Go in the bathroom and look in the mirror. It's you, buddy. But right now, if I'm Georgia, how worried should you be? Offensively, Carson Beck has 11 interceptions on the year, which is unacceptable. He's basically played himself into a late round first pick, maybe a second round. Your running game hasn't been great. ETN went out early in that game. Nate Johnson looked good. Nate Frazier, excuse me. Nate Johnson's a backup quarterback right now.
His celebration wasn't very –
Yeah, I know, and Kirby let him know about that. But right now, if you're Georgia, you're catching Ole Miss at a terrible time. Georgia's defense is going to keep you in a lot of football games. Most of your football games, you saw that with Texas. But Carson Beck has to be Carson Beck if they want to win a national championship.
Well, you're not the number 2 team in the country right now. And I think any rational Georgia fan will agree. Who is? I think Oregon's won. I think Oregon's won. You know – You can make an argument for Ohio State. I mean, because of Oregon being number 1, like if Ohio State, and again you look at Georgia's loss, right? Then you look at Ohio State's loss. I would put Ohio State 2. I really would. Right now I think you can make a case for a decent amount of teams, but this just, if you're a Georgia fan, you understand what a championship elite team looks like. And that is not what this team looks like right now.
I agree. Let's go to a $5 donation from Devin W. Said, did Kirby Smart get enough in that kid's ass on the sidelines? This Georgia team does not look like the same Georgia team I'm used to seeing. But, Jake, are they good enough to win it all?
I mean, if Carson Beck plays well, I think they have a chance, right? Now, do I think they can play just okay and get away with what they used to get away with? No, I don't. I think they have to play really, really well consistently. But it's still Georgia. You still have the personnel. And I will say this, what a high-class problem. What a high-class problem where your biggest ass chewing is because of a touchdown celebration. I would look at Auburn, we would love to have those problems. I mean, we got 2 paraplegics and a blind kid on offense over here. We couldn't celebrate if we wanted to. We're celebrating first downs. Okay. So to me, that's not the overarching problem. The overarching problem is the guy that is supposed to be the difference maker for y'all. The guy that was supposed to make up for some of the losses y'all had on offense is not only not making up for it, he's become the biggest problem, right? But it's not like you can go to somebody else, and you don't need to. Because Carson Beck is your best chance to win a national championship. Because like David said, when he's good, man, it's really good. Like you watch him and you're like, okay, I get it, right? You watch him throw the whole shot against cover 2 and you're like, okay, I get it, why the Giants would really want him. But the decision-making, and that's really kind of been his bag. That's been the most surprising thing.